Hello, hello. We are back with Lavender Shadows. All right, so we're going to jump into it, and I think we're going to do a ball. Someone takes me to the ball.
I have that stuck in my head too now.
I couldn't remember the lyrics exactly. Okay, so we have a ball here, and I'm trying to remember. I don't think this ball was like there was anything in particular like special about it. It was just like an event being thrown by the Klebers, where nobility could mingle and make alliances and do all the politicking they usually do. But Josephine and Vivienne, at the very least, you're going to be at this ball. Marco, are you planning to go to this ball?
Was there a time skip?
Yeah.
How much? How long?
Maybe a few days, like 3 days.
I would kind of... Well, okay, first off, how far gone is my injury now?
I think we did say that when the ball came, you were going to change. You already changed it. It would have been still 9 weeks remaining. Yeah. Yeah. Now
9 weeks?
9 weeks remaining on this
What?
extra die. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Injuries are like really serious in Birdie Wheel.
Whoa.
How many days do I have left on my counter to teach Vivienne?
As soon as the ball is over, you can teach her again. That was
perfect.
Yeah, that was the thing we figured out. So
Perfect.
So it's been like a week or two, sort of a thing, since the murder. When we get to the ball, okay. So so Josephine and Vivienne, you're obviously going to be there, and you know, young Lord Frederick Kleber was hoping to, like this was just basically like the night to like he wants to get to know you, Vivienne. He wants to spend time with you. He wants you basically you're his date to this thing, and you know he's basically going to try to impress you. Is kind of the whole shebang. Marco Tisby, are you planning on coming to this event?
Two things.
Yeah.
I'd like to.
Yeah.
I'd like to try and see if I could, because like this is a
and
guy.
I think Crozier is planning on being there, so you have an excuse to be there anyway.
Who's Crozier?
Your uncle.
Was that my? Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I would probably try and figure out some stuff beforehand. I don't think it would be things too difficult. Like mainly just like who's inheriting the estate now that the guy
Maxence Bechard is dead.
Yeah. And see if I can find any relation between Max and see all the relations I can find between Max and Bechard and
yeah. So you want to do some sleuthing?
Yeah, I think like the first one is probably pretty easy to find. I'd imagine.
So first one was what again?
Who's inheriting his estate?
Who's inheriting?
Maxence Bechard's.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I feel like that'd be probably pretty easy to find if I just get a hold of the will and everything.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Since I'm investigating it, I imagine.
That's honestly that's a rule of law test, right? That's what that is. You're literally just gonna like look up inheritance laws or you know ask around sort of. This is just basically if you know honestly, and we can kind of figure out how you know if you get.
Oh, if I know and if I know off the hand and don't have to look things up, pretty much then. Sort
of, yeah. Mm-hmm, okay. Pretty much, because yeah, there could be other avenues that you could take to try to find it out. But rule of law would just be: do I know who's inheriting his estate?
Okay.
Now it would be harder. It's harder with rule of law to make this test than it would be if you had specifically inheritance wise. But it's still a perfectly applicable skill.
Could I fork in murder wise since the guy died? It's close.
No, I don't think so. I think
Darn.
It's a little bit, one or two steps too far away.
Okay, what is the op gonna be?
Let's say ob 2.
Okay, this isn't too bad.
It's exactly.
Oh wait,
bad.
no. But there's that. So this is a coin flip. I can always use my fate, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And there's other. You could also make another roll if this one doesn't succeed on something else. So.
Mm-hmm. So there's no modifiers I can think of that would help with this.
Don't think so. Yeah. unless you want to work carefully. If you want to,
Well, I thought
if you don't worry, if you don't worry about time complications, if you're taking your time on this, then you can add another die.
Oh, okay.
So it will just like take half again as long. So it probably would take.
I thought
3 days.
I thought this was just saying if I know it already.
It basically so it does, but this could also include research. Again, you succeed on this test just means you do know. It doesn't necessarily say how you know. So you can decide to work carefully on this and basically say you're researching it too.
I'll work carefully.
Yeah. So basically, this is going to take the entire 3 days up to the ball to look this up to make sure you know.
And I can spend fate if I need to.
Yep. So you get an extra.
Because this makes it a little better than a coin flip.
Yep.
And ob is what?
3. Or sorry, 2.
I was gonna say what? Dang it!
Whoa! How did you? Oh, you rolled murder wise, dude.
Oh, I rolled the wrong one. I clicked the wrong one.
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you keep getting 0 successes on things?
Because you have to roll a 4 or better.
Yeah.
Okay, so base ob 2.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Just barely. Nice.
The first one was about to ploy to get the right one. No, it's literally just me derping and clicking the wrong one.
Yeah.
That's I need any of them. Which
That's
one
routine.
is it?
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So you need 2 more routines, and you'll have the routine set for real law. Good stuff. Okay, yeah. So you do know who. So you do some research. You just kind of like look up. You have access to some of the laws and you have access to inheritance laws and some of the documents. You looked this up briefly. I mean, you went to the university, so you can probably even just go to the university and be like, oh, hey, I need to look up this document real quick, sort of thing. And turns out Mr. Bertrand Crozier, your uncle, inherited his entire estate, except for the stuff that went to Joe.
Everything except those 4 books?
Mm-hmm.
What?
Pretty much. I mean, so Marco, there's a couple of things here. I mean, you don't know as much about your uncle as maybe someone closer to him would, because he's your uncle, but like you don't necessarily like hang around him all the time. This is the first time you've seen him in a while. From what you remember, Maxence didn't have a whole lot of other friends besides Bertrand Crozier, except for the people from the Forsaken Quill Society, which you don't even really know about in detail. You just know that he knew Joe.
Mm-hmm. Wait, who didn't have a lot of friends? My uncle?
No, Maxence. Yeah, which is
didn't
why
have a lot of friends except for
Joe, is that you know of, right? Like that's the only friend of Maxence's that you know.
But and my uncle
and your uncle, yeah. And given that how they were basically in a partnership with each other to run this opera house, right? Because Maxence was the nobleman who gave it like a legitimacy, and he was the common man who was rich, right? Your uncle was, and so together they went into partnership, built this opera house, and you can find in some of the inheritance stuff, right? Like it probably, even if half of the stuff was half the stock or whatever, right? Like the capital was owned by Bertrand anyway for the opera house. Like it makes sense that would revert to him. But yeah, any of Maxence's liquid assets basically went to him too. So he had like if I remember correctly, he had a modest estate that went to Bertrand as well. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm eating and typing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, and that's you take those 3 days to look that up. So basically, it's ball time now, and you can look up the other thing like after the fact, after the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I think it's time for the ball. Vivienne, Joe, do you have any particular preparations that you want to make besides the normal like dressing up sequence?
No.
Okay. Joe, are you going with anyone, or are you just like Vivienne's accompaniment? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just making sure.
I mean, I'm sure Sir Gilbert will be there, but
very likely.
If he didn't ask me, then I didn't. I certainly did not. So
I figured, yeah. So Vivienne, the only time you've been able to leave the house since the funeral. That was the only time you even got to leave the house in this whole like week of time. What I want to know, what kind of dresses are you guys wearing, Joe and Vivienne? Like, give me the juicy deets on the fashion here.
I mean, I think I did say that it was like a violet color, right?
Mm-hmm. At least, yeah, the one from before, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do remember you had some correspondence with Kleber, and basically he asked you about the flowers that should be at this thing, and I think you told him like lavender, right? Like, yeah. Because you have to keep pounding that theme.
Yep. I have a lavender candle in front of me.
Nice.
I mean, it's like a simple dress. It's not like over dressy. Like, it doesn't look like she's trying super hard, but she still looks elegant.
Sure. Joe?
I think Joe is probably wearing like a dark blue, like that, that like the sleeves like go right here, so that way she can like be like good for like signing, because like that's part of like the culture, is that like you wear darker colors, so that way like it like they can see your hands properly.
Sure.
But I think it's also fairly simple but elegant. Like that pretty like sheer, where it's just like, oh, look at that fabric, it's so flowy and beautiful.
Sure. Marco, what are you wearing? You do have like a somewhat nice outfit that
I know, the only nice outfit I have.
You just gonna wear that again, yeah. and like I think like at this point, if there are probably like nobles in the crowd who have seen you at all three functions, that like have like if they recognize you at all, are like, why did he just wear the same outfit every single time? Because they don't really know who you are. So, but yeah, okay, cool. So we see the lavish ballroom, right? So this is a grand ballroom. The ceilings are really high. There's a beautiful chandelier with like dozens and dozens and dozens of lit candles, and like you don't even want to know how long it took servants and how high they had to like have a ladder or something like to get up to this chandelier to light all of these candles. Who even knows? But yeah, like the floor is kind of like a granite kind of texture. There's some blues and grays in the stone here, kind of like a tile. And there's lots of flowers. Like the theme of the night is like garden. Like they've decked out this like ballroom in flowers. There's like some potted plants that are literally like set up here, and there's like it literally like they've set it up in such a way that like there's like materials and fabrics and stuff that are like set up around these potted plants to give the illusion of like a flower bed sort of a thing, right? So it even looks like you're walking through a garden, even though it's all made from, except for the plants, everything else is made from like non-earthy materials necessarily. Like they didn't actually like bring dirt in here necessarily, but at least not any more than they had to. But yeah, there's lots of pretty flowers. Lavender is obviously the main flower of the evening. Yeah, they have the ballroom. They have side rooms where people can have like conversations and make alliances and do all the normal things that the nobility do at a ball. I think one of the things you notice as you get in the carriage, I'm trying to think if I don't think your parents come to this, because I think the kind of evening this is like, this is a chance for the young people to like mingle and do stuff. And there are some older people, but like it's not an insult. I guess the way the social etiquette of the situation is set up, it's not an insult to anyone if any of the older nobles don't show up to this. And so many of them choose not to. Because yeah, the focus of the night is like dancing and lively music, and there's some, I'm trying to think of other like things that would be going on in this thing.
Alcohol.
Yeah, there's probably lots of alcohol. Yeah, certainly. And so
Kids playing them rock and roll songs.
pretty much, yeah. It's whatever.
Drinking their booze.
It's whatever the Renaissance version of a frat party is, I guess. Kind of, right? Like it's super tame compared to an actual party like that, right? But like the whole vibe is like
you would
young
know what a
people.
frat party is like.
I don't know what a frat party is like. I've seen TV shows, I guess, but right, like the night is designed for the young people. And I mean, kind of the whole idea of the ball in the first place probably is like Friedrich Kleber is now the lord of his house. He's going to make alliances. Like, this is the night to get on his good side because he's in charge of one of the biggest noble houses in the city now. So, like, this is your chance. You convince him that you're cool, right? Like, that's the idea. And so I guess we see, like, the carriages, right, pulling up to the estate. And so we see Vivienne and Joe seated inside this carriage. And I think as you're, like, you know, watching the crowd, watching the people walk up the steps and into the estate, and kind of mingling outside somewhat too. Vivienne, I think you see a man in a red cloak, just kind of like standing off to the side as you're just kind of like, so it's like this veranda kind of a thing, right? Like this estate in the middle of the city. And there are some like kind of beautiful garden things in front of the house, and you see a guy kind of like next to like this vase that's on a pedestal, and he's kind of like examining the vase, and it's like, again, the cloak is like a fashionable cloak, like it's not like some random guy is standing there with a cloak. It's like a person who like has like a fashionable cape, and then he's wearing nice clothes underneath. And he's examining this vase, and you just kind of see him for a brief moment, and but it looks like he like notices you, like catches your eye. What do? You're just like rolling by in the carriage, and you see this off to the side.
I mean, probably just look away.
Okay. Yeah, and you keep rolling up. And you get to the front of the whole thing. And a servant comes up, a footman, you know, like holds out his hand to like let you guys down. Vivienne first, and then Joe. And then you guys basically, you know, do the normal walk into the room where all the people like mingling outside of the entrance are like looking at you guys. You know, some young aristocratic ladies are sizing you up. Because I think it's maybe gotten around a little bit that you might be the person who Friedrich Kleber is going to marry, and there are probably some young ladies at this ball. Certainly many young ladies actually at this ball who want to be that person instead. So whether or not Vivienne actually like catches the looks, she definitely gets them.
Could I make like a perception roll for that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be an observation test.
Okay.
Which I don't know if you have, but if not, it's just, being learned. Observation based on perception. So if you want to add that into your being learned there. So your base ob is 1. And technically, Joe, you can help her with this if you would like. If you want
Sure.
if you're just like adding your perception to this roll, that's a thing you can do. Right, so you can just get at 1 modifier on that, Vivienne.
I'll just sign something like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There you go. So you can mark a bubble on your observation there on the right there. Yeah, I mean, you catch the looks. You kind of figure out what they mean.
Read
And
some lips.
yeah, you probably do, right? Yeah, that's probably more what it is, right? You read some lips and you hear, some of the ladies say stuff like, why would he want to marry that wisp of a thing? Or, probably another person says, like, I don't think it will be long before, basically, I think she says, once Frederick has had his fun with her, don't worry, we'll get our chance. Like, that's the snippets that you pick up.
Rude.
I know, yeah, they are indeed. So you guys walk into this whole thing, and then we see Marco and Crozier, pull up in Crozier's carriage. And I think he looks at you, Marco, and says, so, you asked to come to this thing. Is there some sort of investigation you're doing here?
You could say that.
Nothing more than that. A mysterious man you are, Marco.
Well, give too much away. You never know who you're going to scare off.
He kind of like nods. All right, well, fair enough. Well, try not to punch anyone. And then he just like steps out of the carriage.
I didn't punch anyone last time.
Yeah.
Did I?
No, you didn't. He just knows you're kind of a rough and tumble sort of guy, so.
I always have a knife on me.
It's true.
Why punch him when stab is option?
Oh dear.
Sure. Yeah, so you guys walk into. Vivienne, you're almost immediately accosted by young Lord Frederick Kleber. Yeah, accosted. It's like almost as if he was waiting like near the entrance to spot you. He walks over immediately, kisses your hand, does the normal like etiquette of greeting a lady, and he says, "My lady Vivienne, such a pleasure."
She nods and says same.
I'm glad, and we're just assuming that Joe is translating. I'm so very, very glad. Do you approve of the decorations? And he's wearing like a rich doublet and hose, like just the normal like Renaissance sort of like the puffy kind of frills, the puffy shirt sort of a thing. I mean, honestly, Vivienne, like he doesn't look half bad. Like he's a handsome guy. So yeah.
I mean, she looks around at the room and everything, and she's like legitimately impressed, and she's like, "Yeah, I approve."
I'm glad. Well, I do have some people that I would love for you to meet, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh dear. She's like, "Yeah, no, I wouldn't mind."
Okay. Yeah. So he like holds out his arm like this, right, for you to take it.
Like, I kind of need my arm to sign.
Yeah, but you don't need to talk on the way, sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
I guess not, but
yeah,
Or
so
it's his way of silencing you.
Yeah, so you take his arm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he leads you up to like kind of like this dais. And there's a woman, a middle-aged, kind of upper middle-aged woman. She's a beautiful, actually pretty like voluptuously beautiful woman. She's kind of like the talk of the court. This is actually his mother. And her name, I just realized I need to like generate this.
Karen.
Ferret, is that what you said?
Karen.
And
she wants to talk to the manager.
I mean, honestly, that is exactly the sort of vibe you get off of this lady. Let's be real, right? She has long blonde hair, but like tied back into like a very like serious bun.
That's a Karen.
Exactly. And she's wearing like she's wearing black because she's still technically in a mourning for her husband. But she's like seems pretty like happy and almost like mildly drunk already. Yeah, her name is Avisa Kleber. Lady Avisa Kleber. and she's like holding a drink in her hand basically and talking to a couple of young ladies next to her, and basically saying something like, and that's when I told that young man that he could either leave now or face my... Oh, hello there. Well, aren't... And she's like looking straight at you, Vivienne. She does like an up and down, like kind of like takes you in one like glance, and you almost like have like one of those moments where like she's like pierced, like she's very scrutinizing of the glance she gives you. And she says, why aren't you just a wisp of a thing?
I don't know how to respond to that.
I think you don't have to.
I mean, yeah, I think she just
You
gives
just, like,
like a very
curtsy?
hesitant. Yeah, I guess so.
Right? Yeah, like yeah, and she does like a very, very like slight nod in response. Because you know, she outranks you, so and she says, your name is Vivienne, isn't it?
She nods.
Not much of a talker. And she kind of has like a smirk on the side of her face.
Gosh.
And Joe just like is trying to keep a straight face.
Yeah,
She's just like,
Yeah.
Well, aren't you signing back for her so she can? Oh no, she read lips.
so that's why I'm like, she can, but I'm also signing it as well, like next to her. So I'm just like,
I'm not
Yeah.
the best at reading lips, so.
mostly good with like her parents and like
Yeah.
people she's
People she knows,
familiar
yeah.
with. But
Yeah, and Frederick says, yes, mother, this is Lady Auguste. I mentioned her. I do... let's see, how do you say this? I think he says, the lavender was her suggestion. I think it really does fit the theme quite nicely, don't you? And she kind of like sniffs a little bit, and then kind of does like a half nod, like to the side. And she says, "Why, yes. I mean, I'm not one for gardens that much myself. I would much prefer a good art museum if I must enjoy some sort of beauty. But and then she like trails off as she notices like Joe, kind of like for the first time. Joe, have you met this woman before, or like had any conversations with her? No, you don't know?
no idea.
Okay, yeah. How about we find out? You want to roll a circle, Sess?
What happens if I fail this?
It depends on your intent. What do you want to be true?
I don't want anything. You're the one who suggested it.
This is the thing we use to like decide whether or not someone is like, you know, this person and how they view you, basically. So if you don't care, then you can just I'm not forcing you to make a test.
I don't care.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Then she just doesn't know you, I think. At least not like you've never really met before. But I think she does say, and yes, this is your translator. She's like looking at you as if like, you know, like talking to you, Joe.
And I'm just like, yes, I'm the translator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I just go back to looking at her, but yeah, looking at Vivienne.
Yeah, and she kind of like smirks again a little bit, and she says, I'm told that you knew the late Lord Maxence Bechard. I pity I had to miss the funeral. I was out of town. So sorry for your loss, she says after like a moment of obvious pause.
Joe, I mean, she's like, I guess this is one of those weird things with interpreters, right? Where they're like, I'm just here to do a job. I'm not here to have a conversation. You can
sense that she's specifically trying to instigate you.
Right.
Again, probably because she's already a little bit drunk.
Right. I mean, so I'm just I don't know. I guess Joe would just say thank you, for like your condolences.
Yeah.
And then we just continue to like, she looks at her like the proper etiquette thing, right? But then goes immediately back to looking at Because the positioning at
Sure,
Vivian
sure,
to be
yeah.
ready to interpret.
I think I want you to make a test. I think I want you to make an etiquette test. And if you succeed, then she'll just leave you alone, right? Like she'll just be like, okay, I won't press any further. Like she's just gonna focus on Vivian.
Okay.
So let's see what that was gonna be. Probably an ob 2. Etiquette.
Okay. I'm trying to think what I can fork in. Can I fork in anything?
Inconspicuous.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're just trying to like be under the radar here.
Right, trying to blend. Right. I'm trying to blend in here.
Yeah. That's probably the only thing I can see though.
Okay. Ugh. I don't like the odds for this. I could also fork in astrology.
True. Yeah, you could.
Know if I really want to. Because what happens with astrology if you get a 1?
If you get a 1, you have to re-roll it again, and if you get a 1, 2, or 3 on that die, then you lose the success. So it open ends both ways. So it automatically opens ends. If you get a 6, it will automatically re-roll, and you can get more successes. But if you get a 1, it automatically open ends the opposite way, and you can lose successes.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Because I do need a routine test on this.
Yeah, you probably want to add in as many dice as possible.
Right. Okay, I'll add in astrology.
Well, real quick, let me test this. Let's see, you're rolling, what, 4 dice against ob 2?
Yeah. I think that would make it a routine, right?
Possibly.
That's routine. I have my chart here. It's a 69% chance of success.
Cool.
Base up 2?
Yep.
Okay. Oh no!
0 successes.
And 2 1s. But I
Uh,
didn't succeed at all, so does it even matter?
that's true. Also, technically, you were supposed to roll the astrology dice separately.
Okay.
But I mean, it's not
It
really
wouldn't
gonna
have
matter.
been-
You're gonna fail no matter what here. So,
Right.
but you get a routine test, so you upgrade etiquette.
Oh, great.
So go ahead and just erase those bubbles and put it to 3. Because you got the 2 routine and 1 difficult that you needed.
Wait, what?
So there's a little right next to the where you put the dots. There's a little X that pops up. You can just
I'm
clear
supposed
them.
to do for astrology too? I'm
No,
confused.
no. What I was saying earlier is you added in 2 modifiers. Technically, you should have just added in 1 and then rolled the last die separately because it's astrology. Because we need to know which one was the astrology die in that roll. But it doesn't matter because you failed. So I mean.
So wait, I just mark a routine test.
What I'm
right?
saying is, yeah, you mark a routine test and then etiquette advances because you've gotten the tests you need to advance
I still
it.
need one more. I still need one more challenge.
No, because remember, it's difficult or challenging when it's under 5.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, so
you
okay.
need 2 routines.
I see.
And
so
a
I
difficult
can
or a
upgrade
challenging.
to 3. Okay,
Yep.
got it.
So you
I
can
understand
clear
that.
those
Sorry.
bubbles and you're good. There's a little X next to that pops
I
up
see.
next to
Got
it.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And then you can advance it to 3. Yeah. Cool. Yep. You're learning etiquette more and more. But you did fail this particular. This night will help you remember to be better at etiquette. Because instead of leaving you alone, she says, it must be terribly boring to always have to travel around with. Let's see how I'm trying to think of the most insulting way to say this. It must be incredibly boring for a woman of your particular talents to be stuck tutoring someone who. Oh, I'm trying to think of. No, that's not the way I want her to say this.
Call her a cripple.
No. Okay, yeah, I know how I want to say this. Yeah. It must be terribly. It must be terribly frustrating to you, Lady Boulay, to have to accompany a lady like Vivienne to a ball like this, knowing that you'll never have the prospects that a woman of like the other ladies of court.
I think Joe's just like, it doesn't bother me.
Oh, really? Oh, I suppose it wouldn't. More or less, you've become a monk. A nun, maybe?
So I think while she's talking to her, I say, Vivian, please talk so I can interpret.
I don't know what to say. Oh gosh.
And she just continues in that vein, right? Like trying
I'm
to egg
like,
you
I
on.
don't want to talk. I'm like,
and you can sense, Vivienne, the stiffness of Friedrich Kleber, like next to you, just like really uncomfortable, like as his mother just like starts to descend into insults.
and Joe's interpreting all of this. Like,
Yeah.
she's like,
Yeah.
talking back, but like,
And I suppose, no matter your prospects, you wouldn't even really be able to find a wife among the common folk, given the rather plain look about you. I mean, seriously, with that face, you'd think you'd try to compensate a little bit more with your dress.
she's saying that to me or
Yeah.
to
No,
Vivian?
she's talking to you, Joe.
What a jerk.
And Friedrich, I think
mean,
Friedrich starts
but
to say,
Joe
like,
doesn't care.
I know you don't. Yeah. Friedrich
He's
starts...
just like, I think like she's signing like, you're not believe you want to marry this.
Friedrich starts to like say like, Mother, I think you may have had just a little bit too much to drink. I think we maybe need to stop harassing Lady Boulay. And then she like snaps at him and says, oh, I don't think so. Did you hear the entire situation with the late Maxence Bechard's death? Josephine is one of the only people who really even knew the man, and she was in the box with him when he died. I hear that she inherited some things. I wouldn't be surprised if... And then he says, Mother.
Oh, no. Joe just... no. Oh, no. Joe's like, I'm so sorry to like Vivian, and then just like, turns to her. Because, okay, I would like to do this, right? I'm going to stand up for myself to prove that I'm worthy of his position, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to hold my ground, but like do it in a classy way that puts this woman in her place, but I'm not like yelling at her or anything like that. I would just like, I don't even know what to say. Just like something along the lines of like, I would be happy to clear up any rumors that you might have indulged yourself in, my lady. But did receive something. You are correct. We had a knowledge of this ancient language, you see, and he gave me his books. That was it. Everything else has gone to another man. And your own son was also in that box. If you would like to get more details from him about where I was and what I was doing in there. So, thank you.
Thank you. That's I think that sounds like an ugly truth, probably. I don't know if you're like, it could be soothing platitudes, but there's an edge to it that I think doesn't make that the case. So I think it's ugly truth.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
okay.
a Bean Learn skill. The ugly
Yes.
truth obstacle is here it is. Probably ob 2.
So, since it's being learned, right, that would still make it a 4 technically, but I have a 6 in perception, so I have a
It's certainly possible.
somewhat chance. Okay. And I can use fate for this, right, if I need to?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to prove that I am worthy of this position.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No modifiers. No Artha. Base ob 2. Jesus. Okay. Oh, additional complications?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
You got 2 6s, so if you spend 1 fate, you
Okay.
get to reroll 2
I'm going to
dice.
use 1 fate.
Yep.
To roll both of those 6s, right? That's what I
Yep.
get?
So slash roll or R space 2d6 greater than 4 exclamation point.
The greater than sign is the one where it's going this way, right?
Yeah, it's like towards the
Towards the 6.
Just do here. Just
yeah.
that
yep.
one.
That's greater than, yep.
Exclamation mark or no? No, just greater than 4, right?
Yep. And exclamation point. Yeah. At the end of it. Because that will make it reroll any
Oh
6s.
no!
Whoa. Oh no.
That was so unlikely.
Oh boy. I mean, each of them had a 50-50 chance,
I
right?
know.
So there was
still.
a 20. Oh no. Yeah.
Because she only needed 1 to succeed.
Yeah.
So yeah. It was in her favor that she should have at least gotten 1, but
I should have, and that was like a 75% chance.
Yeah.
Right, basically.
Something like that.
It's 50%, I think.
Well, it would have been 50% if she was rolling 1 die, because she only needed 1 success. And
I'm trying to think through
there's
the
3
math.
options on for success
I
and
guess
3
that's
options
true.
for failure. Yeah.
So
it'd be
sad.
Maybe 66, 75%, something like that.
It was so
Um,
close.
So you failed. You can mark a routine little bubble on Ugly Truth though, and being learned. How many more do you need to advance it?
Oh, I still have a while. How many?
You need
I think
2 more.
I need 2 more. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So
I'm so sad. I think that's like Joe's first like real failure here.
I think so. I really think so. Yeah.
That's so sad.
So I think what she says then, I think the failure here is she kind of just dismisses you with a wave. And then she turns to Vivienne and then says, besides, it was probably, let's see. Sure, Lady Boulay. I'm very sure. Besides, our good Lady Vivienne Auguste here had much more to gain from the untimely death of her cousin, given that she was currently on the arm of my son. And she kind of just like does a little like kind of like tight-lipped smile at you, Vivienne. No, I'm not accusing you of anything, dear. I would never do anything like that. But I would just like to warn you. Marrying into this house is going to be a bit more difficult than you imagine. And then Frederick Kleber, again, like, is just like, Mother, what are you doing? Why are you embarrassing me in front of everyone? Does anyone say anything like Joe or
Why could
Vivienne?
she be the one who died?
I mean, who knows? Maybe his dad was worse than this.
No, I meant instead of the other guy.
Instead of Maxence
Oh.
Bechard.
Like, people liked him.
Yeah.
I just don't know what she would say back. Like,
Yeah. And it's fine if the answer is nothing, because if a moment
Yeah.
passes,
I think she's just kind of stunned. She's like, I don't know what to say to any of this. Like,
yeah, and so a moment passes, and then
because she's like,
Mhm.
well, I'm not really that interested in your son, but I'm not gonna say that.
it's true. It's true. Honestly, you think that if you said that, like, or hinted at that at all, she would probably immediately turn on you and be like, "What do you mean? Is my son not good enough for you?" So
Yeah.
that she's like that sort of person, right? So I think a moment passes, and then Frederick Kleber says, "Mother, I think we'll leave you to your amusements, if you would, Vivienne." And he like turns pointedly to you and like says that, like making sure you're looking at him so you can read his lips, and then like leads you away. And the last thing like his mother says is, "Oh, I hope you two have a very, very happy life together. I do. I really do." And then she like looks at the young ladies that are surrounding her, and then she starts like kind of like laughing a little bit, and then like kind of like gives them a look like, "Laugh with me." And then the young lady's like, sort of, yeah,
Oh, dear.
exactly. So yeah, not the best mother-in-law in the world.
What a rude woman.
But yeah, so Kleber like looks at you, Vivian, and then she just says like, "I am so sorry about that. I don't know what. My mother has not been herself since father died."
Yeah, I think she just says it's fine. Like, I'm used to it. Like, that's basically the gist of what she says.
Yeah, and then he kind of like frowns and he says, "So, you have troubles with your parents as well?"
Yeah, she just kind of like bobs her head, like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, and he like puts a hand fondly on yours, like as you have it like on his arm, right? He just like, you know, does this, and says, "I'm sorry. I know what that's like. That must be difficult."
She just nods.
Well, I'm not sure any more introductions would be appreciated at this point by either of us. What would you like to do, Vivian? Would you like to dance? I could show you more of the decorations if you'd like.
She nods.
Yeah.
Enthusiastically.
Yeah, she's like, he says, "There's much more on the veranda anyway than in here." And then he like starts to like lead you away, basically.
I just ask, do you want me to leave you alone, or should I come with you?
Yeah, I think she tells Joe to come.
Okay.
Yeah, Frederick doesn't mind. So you guys start like walking off, and he starts like explaining like, yes, and this was you know, we had some of these flowers imported from the royal garden itself. We got to borrow them, and we're gonna put them at like it's this whole thing, and then we like the camera like passes by Marco and then stays with Marco as you guys like continue on towards something.
Probably what happens is it like zooms out and I'm like standing, because I'm assuming this is a multi-level area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been standing like on the higher level, just kind of watching, because one of my traits is I always know who's in the room. So I'm kind of just like eyeing everyone, getting an idea of what kind of people are here.
Sure, yeah.
And at the same time, keeping an eye out for someone that is a, wait. Wait, is this the same description? Oh, I don't know if I actually wrote down the description of the guy. No, here we go. I'm looking for a guy that is bald and actually, wait, that's the only descriptor I have.
He's bald and he has a deep voice. Those are the two things you
Yeah,
know.
so
and
I'm like
he doesn't have facial hair.
I'm keeping an eye out for bald people without facial hair. Getting an idea of how many are.
Yeah, do you want to make an observation test to just like try to find a bald person without
it's
facial
pretty
hair?
easy to find the bald people from above. You know,
it is, yeah.
Unless they're wearing wigs. I don't know if this is a thing in this.
I don't think so. Not in this particular culture. I don't think powdered wigs are a thing here. Yeah, make an observation test. Let's see.
Is observation not a stat or something?
Observation is a skill, yeah. So
it's being learned.
It's being learned, I think, yeah.
Ah.
So let me bring something up here. Okay.
I do at one point want to bring up with Joe, see if she knows that my uncle inherited most of everything.
Okay. Yeah, I mean they're passing at this point, but yeah, you can
at some point I want to bring it up, but not...
and honestly, I mean Frederick Kleber is with them too, so you probably want to just at least go talk to him at some point too. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Okay, so the base off for this unfortunately is going to be a 4.
So it's impossible.
Yeah, it is impossible. But now that I've given you the ob, you do have to make the test.
I mean, I wanted to do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you'll get a test for it, especially if it's this high. You'll probably get like a challenging for your perception.
So how much is that? Per perception.
Yeah, for perception, because there's no challenging that you can get on observation yet because you don't have it.
So I don't mark anything under observation, do I?
Nope. Not if if it's difficult or challenging, then you mark it on perception or on the base skill. So you have 1 challenging now. You need 2 more difficulties, and then you upgrade your perception to 6. That will be cool. But if it's a routine, then you mark a bubble. So it was just it was a very difficult test. Knowing what I know about the situation, it would be, which is why I rolled those dice. So you don't notice anyone of that description. I mean, you see your uncle in the crowd. You see, I'm trying to think of who else you'd like recognize in the crowd.
What what kind of people is my uncle like? Probably since I can't find the guy I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And the other people I want to talk to are off doing their own thing, and I don't really want to interrupt them at the moment. I probably will keep an eye on my uncle. Like, what kind of people is he interacting with?
Anyone and everyone, honestly. Like, he apparently has like a wide range of social circles.
Which makes sense given like he's at the opera house.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, there's not really any pattern to it. Like, he seems to know pretty much anyone that he just talks to. There's a lot of varied nobles, of every age and gender. So.
Well, dang it! There goes.
Like you see at one point he's talking to a man with a red cape on, and then he moves on to talk to a group of young ladies and flirts with them outrageously. So, yeah.
I can't think of anything I would do then if I can't find the guy I'm looking for. There's no one to like try and talk to. I don't know. I'm looking at all my things to see what he would do in this situation.
I mean, you could just go after Frederick, Kleber, and Joe.
I might honestly do that, just kind of trail him a little bit.
Yeah, so maybe what we saw from before was like Marco. We saw this like from before with Marco, like looking out over the crowd, and then they pass by, and then you just like follow them.
Oh, I figured they were like down below, and I was looking up from above.
Right. But yeah, you actually notice them now, and then you like just follow them. And they go out into the veranda. So this like patio, kind of overlooking part of the city. Beautiful like garden area, statues, lots of like sculptures and fountains and things like that. Less of a focus on garden stuff and more of a focus on like sculptures and art pieces and stuff. And Lord Frederick Kleber is just like explaining to Vivienne some of the like the particular importance of this one sculpture. He's like, and this is a bust of my father. He was an interesting man.
His father got busted.
It's true.
Does he seem suspicious in any way, shape, or form? Just kind of like I try and kind of like look him over, just kind of like get an idea of what kind of could
Kleber in general.
Yeah, could I streetwise to kind of get an idea of like what kind of see if he's a punk, pretty much.
That's not what streetwise is for, but you could make it would be a noble wise test, or it could be an empathy test.
I don't have those things though.
I know you were working on empathy as a being learned skill, but
he's working on empathy.
Yeah, I mean those are the
I too am working on empathy.
I might as well do the empathy thing since it doesn't look I'm going to be able to do anything with my actual skills.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I have was like inconspicuous and murder wise, and I know the guy didn't murder anyone. At least not directly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I'll just roll the
Ob 2.
Would it be observation or empathy?
It'd be empathy because if you're trying to get a read on him as a person, that's empathy. Observation would be like, does he have a hidden knife?
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is going to be pretty difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Base Ob 2?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, additional complications.
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy. Wow. You keep rolling 0 successes. That's crazy. All right, you can mark another bubble on routine. You're close to unlocking that, though. You only got 2 more.
Oh, because there's a 5. I saw, like, there's so many. What are you talking about?
No, you don't have to get all of those. Yeah, so you just don't...
There's only a 6% chance. I was looking at the wrong row.
Don't really get a read on this guy. He seems like a nobleman who has normal emotions. given everything at this. Like he's not like looking furtively over his shoulder. He doesn't seem like he's distressed any more than normal. You probably heard some of that argument they had, so that's the only thing you kind of pick up from him.
I mean,
Really.
chances are most people heard that argument they had.
Yeah, very true. But yeah, so you're kind of like getting a read on this guy, and Kleber looks at you, Vivienne, and says, "But I'm sorry, you probably aren't as interested in sculptures. You're partial to plants and flowers, yes?"
She nods.
You said your favorite is the lavender.
She nods again.
Well, I mean, there's some this way, and they're kind of all over the place. I may have gone a little overboard with that. And then he kind of like leads you over to a particular part of the garden where it seems like this is actually like where probably the only lavender that was actually in the estate before he planned this thing. It's just some lavender plants like growing in the garden here. And he just kind of like looks at it for a little while and then kind of looks at you and there's like the moment in the air, right, where it's just like, okay, yeah, this is like nice. At least that's what he's feeling, right? And then he looks at you and then says, "Vivienne, I do care for you. You do know that."
She like slowly nods.
And he kind of like swallows a little bit. "Is there something that I've done? Something that did I say something wrong?"
She shakes her head.
It was my mother, wasn't it? I'm so
She
sorry.
shakes
I'm
her
an
head
idiot.
again. No, she says, "No, you're not an idiot."
This is funny because this is all happening through translation with Joe.
Yeah.
What are you
can't
saying,
hear you,
Alyssa? I can't hear
Alyssa.
you.
Joe is just so uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
Knows that she has like a pot-time lover type of a
Right.
thing, so like she's like, okay,
Yep.
well,
Yeah, which is why I have no idea what to say now.
Mm-hmm. Does Vivienne hesitate at all?
Yeah.
I think he says, "I promise I can handle my mother. I can." Is it because of before the way all of this has worked out? It seems like both of our families are sort of, or at least from my understanding, the politics of all of this seem to be pushing us together. But I promise you it's more than that. I am genuinely fond of you, Vivienne.
She like blushes. Making this very hard for her.
Uh-huh. That's my job.
Oh.
he's trying so hard.
No. Oh gosh. I don't know what to say.
Does Marco interrupt the conversation then?
I'm totally down with that.
Give you more of a chance to think about it?
I mean, is it that hard to realize how awkward this is?
No, probably not. Marco
I
comes
said-
to the rescue.
I probably say, excuse me.
Hmm?
Could I borrow, I'm about to call her Joe, but then I was like, calling her that in front of him might be about it. Could I borrow Miss Lady Boulay for a second?
Oh no, that makes it worse though.
Taking away the
I know.
translator.
Joe just like looks
Just-
between them and just goes,
Vivienne just
if
nods.
my boss will excuse me, then sure.
Just a moment.
Yeah, Vivienne just nods her away.
I'm like,
Essentially letting her think of something to say.
Yeah.
Right, now you have the excuse that you can't say anything.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I'll be like, I'll be back one moment.
Yeah, and so
And then
and so Frederick Kleber just like, you know, kind of goes back to looking at the lavender and just like kind of like awkward, like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're just gonna stare at this flower for a little longer.
Okay. I'm like, what?
I'm so sorry to bother Joe.
I'm
Joe.
working.
I know. I just have a quick question about
There's a soap opera happening in front of us right now.
how much do you know about my uncle Bertrand Crozier?
I know that he and Maxence Bechard were fairly close, that they were co-owners. Whenever I would go to the opera house, I hardly spoke with Maxence. I'm not going to lie, or not Maxence,
Crozier.
your uncle, Crozier. I mostly dealt with Maxence when going to the opera, but he seemed a pleasant man.
Okay, I was just curious because from what I understand, I keep forgetting his name. Maxence didn't have many friends outside of Bertrand.
Yeah,
And
would I
you
know
guys-
if Maxence was ever married?
He was not. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was like, he never had any children. He never married. So,
Did you know that? Because how much do I know about actually how the whole estate got divided? Do I know that he's the only one that got everything and she got some of it?
Yeah. Yep. You know all of that.
Okay. Did you know that you were the only one outside of Bertrand that received something in his will?
I've been made aware of that by a certain lady tonight. Yes.
Wait, did she actually say that?
She did, yeah.
The guy's mom. Okay. Does that seem at all odd to you?
A little. I am surprised he didn't leave anything behind for any of the other members of our society. I would have thought he would have left Leonard something behind, but not entirely surprised. We were, me, Leonard, and we were his, we were the ones he dealt with the most in the Forsaken Cool Society. I mean, he loved everybody in our, or sorry, I don't say the Forsaken
Yeah, I was
Cool
gonna
Society.
say
I
that's
say,
like the secret organization.
I say like in our society, we were the ones he talked to the most.
Okay. So I take it that she does know it's odd.
I don't think I take it as odd. I'm like,
More
seems
not
reasonable,
odd than
Okay.
odd, yeah.
I find it a little odd, but reasonable.
but reasonable, sure.
Writing down my actual notes. How well did, and I kind of, because I don't want to ask that other guy. I was like, how well did, actually, because we've talked about Frederick before being a suspect.
Yeah.
How, I just kind of just think about how well did Frederick know Maxence?
Do I need to roll anything to know that?
I mean,
or
we remember from, if you remember from the first episode, they interacted like they had met each other before, but you don't necessarily know the full context. Like, Maxence Bechard was an outlier. He was a pariah, a social pariah. And so technically, by all of this, they were cousins, right? Like, that's why they're in the
Right.
line of succession here. But didn't, and not like Kleber hated him or anything like that, but like they were obviously not close.
Right. I mean, I think I would say something along the lines of, let's just say when I went to the opera house, it was me he sent an invitation to join him in the box, not Kleber. Not to say that they have a bad relationship, but certainly not a close one.
Okay. Part of me wants to get Frederick's view on this, but not in the middle of whatever's happening here.
Yeah, and Joe kind of like says this like, and she like keeps like looking over her shoulder,
yeah,
like
okay. And as I was like, okay, I think think that's enough for now. I'll let you get back to whatever's happening over there.
I almost wish you wouldn't, but I feel I must.
I mean, I could distract him for a while if that would help.
Fortunately, I think this is something Vivian needs to deal with head on.
Okay. Well, if you need to get him to get away from you, guys, let me know.
Thank you.
I could
Marco.
use an opportunity to talk to him.
I think Joe like says like thank you, Marco. Like as like we're cool. Like I'll call you by your first name.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Sorry for calling you back there. I just figured in front of him.
It's fine. Joe's just like, it's etiquette, I get it. She's like, I may not agree with it, but I get it.
I'll probably just walk away and kind of just not mingle necessarily because I don't want to talk to anyone here.
Just like look
But
out
I'll
over
keep-
the balcony or whatever.
I'll like walk around and keep my eye out for anything that looks fishy. Or food. I mean, if there's food here.
I mean, there is, yeah.
Probably go get food, actually, honestly. Because I've been like keeping my eye out and everyone I'm like, I'm
I know, Joe's just thinking,
Yeah.
I need a drink.
Yeah, so you walked back over to the awkward, like, they're just staring at a flower.
So yeah, just like, sorry.
It's quite all right, Joe. Or Lady Blue. I guess he doesn't call you Joe, but yeah, Lady Blue.
No, I have not given him
I know,
permission
exactly.
to call me Joe.
And he knows that. And then he like looks back at Vivian like, okay, now you can say something.
Yeah, I think she just looks at him and says, signs. Like, I don't know if I can commit to anything just yet.
I'm certainly not asking you to. There's a reasonable process to these things. I just want to know if I'm... He kind of like leaves it hanging and just doesn't really know what to say next.
If you'll at least consider it.
Yeah, but he doesn't want to say it like that.
His wouldn't sound like,
He says, I just want to know what you're thinking, Vivian. That's all.
What is she thinking? Ugh.
What I know is that despite the politics of the situation, despite the change in the inheritance, I think I still would like to marry you. And you can understand what he says by that, right? Like, it was more advantageous for him to marry you back before he wasn't in direct line. Now it's just almost a formality. Like, he could just marry anyone else. But he's like, hey, like, and I think he continues and says this. He says, I think a tie between our two families would be good, not only for the city and the kingdom, but for us. I think we could do well together.
I legitimately don't know how she would respond. Because, like, she's not just going to say, well, I'm interested in this other guy, but she's also not going to say that she's not
I have a
interested in him at
thought.
all because she doesn't want to be insulting.
Yeah, let's crowdsource this.
I have a thought. What if you ask him, would you be willing to learn the language?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Because that would be a huge indicator, right?
And
Yeah.
that's part of your goal, right? Is like figure out like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so she would say, like, if we
As
were
much
to
as I
move-
love Joe,
yeah, she would just say, if we were to move this relationship forward, would you be willing to learn my language?
I think there's a role here. Let's see. I think it's a persuasion test. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. It's just like, this is in your best interest. If you want me, you got to learn the language, right? Like, Yeah, so I think persuasion. Do you have persuasion as a skill? I think you do, right? Yeah. Well, you have it at 2.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
You can fork in astrology. I think you can fork in soothing platitudes. Do you have any arguments for anything else?
I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Let me look up what his will is. Oh no, it's a 5.
Oh dear.
I'm going to give you an extra modifier because I think he's more inclined to it than not.
Okay.
So you can get
The thing is, I don't know how I want this to turn out because.
Could I help her?
Yeah, you can help her. Yeah, what do you say, Joe?
I mean, I think I just.
So what you're doing, right, is you're helping her with a skill. So which skill are you using, and how are you helping her?
Okay. That's a great question.
Because you don't have persuasion, so.
No.
I mean, could she fork in like you have one for like being an instructor, right? You could be like, I could help both of you learn the language. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I could teach you.
Yeah, the only issue is that's not forking in a skill. That's like she would still be doing persuasion there. The fact that she has instruction is a good indicator of that. But this is like, what skill is she using to help you in this moment?
Okay.
She's not going to just start teaching him the language right now. Right.
What skills do you have, Alyssa, that you could work with?
I mean, gosh, I have so many skills.
But none of them are social skills, pretty much.
Right. Etiquette is the only one, but I don't think that would really.
I mean, I've got that one too.
You could almost do it in the sense of like, hey, if something ever happens to me, someone needs to be able to talk to her.
Right, but I don't have any of those skills.
Okay, so what you can do, Alyssa, is you can make a linked test with ugly truth. That's what that is.
I don't have ugly truth.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why you would have to be a linked test and not just a fork. So you could roll your being learned ugly truth to possibly get an advantage die for Vivian.
Okay. What am I linking it to? To her or?
Basically, what you're doing is you're rolling to give her an extra die, and you're going to roll on a fixed obstacle based on.
Oh, I see. Because if I had the skill, she would
ugly truth,
get the deal.
Yes, exactly.
But
if you had ugly truth, you could just add it automatically. Yeah.
Okay. So got it.
I don't think it's going to be super complicated though. I think it's an ob 2 ugly truth.
Okay.
Still ends up being a 4.
It does, unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, but I don't know that there's really any consequences to me linking.
Except, let's actually think about this. Is it ugly truth about family, which would be ob 2, or is it stating the obvious worst possible outcome?
Seems like a worst possible outcome.
That's what I'm feeling, right? Like, it's like, you need to know the language if you're going to be married to this lady. Like, it seems like a pretty, like, basic, straightforward argument. So it's going to be an ob 1 then, base.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, like, part of me's like, if this fails, what's that even mean? He's like,
no, I did it.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah, so you get another dice to that, Vivian. So let's see. You have...
Oh, and do I get to roll another bubble or no? Because it's just a link test.
Another routine bubble. Yep.
Woohoo!
You have like one test away, right?
I know, and then I get ugly truth.
I feel like that's a skill that Joe should have. So
I feel like it is too.
Yeah.
So I have 3 modifier, and base ob is 5.
Yeah. So soothing platitudes. Make sure you actually roll the astrology dice separately though.
Right.
And then you get the thing from Joe. What you can also do is you can make a linked test of your own if you wanted to. I'm not sure. Let's see. Just trying to give you all the options here. Honestly, if you wanted to, you could make an etiquette roll, like a link test, to try to make some sort of like actual like societal norm that if like a husband like marries a foreign wife, like this is like in the case of like an actual spoken language, like marries a foreign wife, he's obliged in some sense to learn some of the language. Like that could be a thing you could just make up as being true about this culture, and then you could apply it into the situation. And Joe could help you on that etiquette roll because she has etiquette.
How many modifiers do you have so far?
Right now she only has 3.
But how many die are you rolling so far?
She's rolling 5 dice against 5 obstacle right now.
Yeah, there's a 3% chance of this succeeding.
You probably want to keep banking more dice.
The thing is, I'm conflicted because I don't know how I want this to turn out. Because
You're like
if he
wanted
says
to
he will learn the
fail, but
language, then I'm like, okay, well now I have to still figure out like if I need to get rid of you.
But
or
I would say you want him to be able to do this simply because you want to know whether or not. I get what you're saying.
Because she's just like begging for an easy way out of this right now. That's like all she's thinking about.
So, I mean, it's up to you. You don't have to keep stacking dice. If you just want to roll right now, and then just see where
I'm gonna laugh if you
again,
still
6%
succeed
chance.
if you don't want to.
No, I think I will make that etiquette roll.
Yeah.
Well,
So
failing
at
that
least
make it more
get a little
difficult.
more even.
If she fails it, I don't think it's gonna be a super difficult etiquette roll. We'll see though. So you can get a modifier on that etiquette roll from Joe, because if she's helping with etiquette. And if you whatever this test is, Joe, you can also get a test for it.
Oh, for etiquette?
Even though you're not rolling it, just adding the dice gives you the test.
Dope.
So let's say it's trying to decide if it's an ob 2 or an ob 3. Let's say ob 2. It's an ob 2 etiquette roll.
Okay.
You did not get a 6, but you can technically spend a fate to reroll one of the failed dice.
No, I'm good.
Okay. That means the obstacle is now 6.
Okay.
If you spend the fate and get at least a 2, then there's no penalty.
Okay.
You have 6 fate, like.
Yeah. Okay.
So just roll a d6.
Okay.
You can add the greater than 4 exclamation point if you want, but you don't have to. It's fine. Yeah, so you failed. So that means it's going to be an ob 6. So you're rolling.
It's impossible.
It's impossible, except for you technically have 2 persona.
Well, and you did work in astrology, so.
And that can also open in automatically, and you have fate still. So again, very unlikely, but still possible. With Artha. Do you want to spend any persona on this?
I guess so.
Yeah. Do you want to spend just 1 to make it like even again?
It'll make it. It'll bring it from a 0% chance to a 2% chance. So you might not want to waste it.
Yeah. And base ob is 5, right?
Base ob is 6 now because of the failed etiquette.
Oh, right. Oh. Okay.
Oh my gosh, you have 3 6s, Vivienne. Just
Oh my
it's
god.
so close. So
like,
close.
if you spend a fate, like,
so
you can do this.
You can spend 1 fate or 2 fate. If you spend 2 fate, you're rerolling 4 dice, which makes it a very likely chance that you'll succeed. If you just spend 1 fate, you're rolling 3 dice.
Wait, does she have to roll astrology too, or is that only if she succeeds?
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Vivienne, did you have that as one of the modifiers?
No, I didn't.
So go ahead and roll that now. Just roll a d6. Because that you could actually lose successes if you get a 1 here. So nope. So just no added successes there. Okay. So do you want to spend a fate?
Yeah.
Just 1 or 2?
Oh. Don't know. I guess 2.
Okay. So re-roll 4 dice. So
you do what you want, Carly, but
do 4 dice and then add this to the end of it without the period.
What do you mean by 4 dice? Like D4?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or no. So not D4. D6 is
Roll
4d6.
4d6.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
46 and then greater than 4 exclamation point. You got 4 extra successes on that. Oh my gosh.
He's
Wow.
definitely willing to learn the
That's
language.
actually insane, Carly. Wow. You went from a 2% chance to getting 3 successes over the obstacle.
It's highly unlikely, but not impossible.
Exactly. Alyssa, so when she said, like, how crazy would it be if you actually still succeeded? And she did. So go ahead and mark the fate and stuff you've spent. So mark one
See,
fate.
this is just proof that nothing is impossible in this game.
Exactly.
I didn't say it was impossible. I said it was improbable.
Yeah. So Vivian, mark that routine test for etiquette, and Joe, you too. And then in the etiquette, like the FPG bubbles next to it, put one in fate, one in the F. Vivian. And then put one more fate in the persuasion bubble for fate. And then one in the persona bubble. So that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, put one in the persona bubble?
Yep. So the little P bubble there.
Oh, wait. Oh, I see.
Yep. Right below it. Yeah.
For which skill?
Persuasion.
I
And then
think
mark,
I know.
and then mark a challenging test too. But you don't actually need that. So
I think I know why I was getting a bunch of fails. Carly was stealing all the good rolls,
exactly.
storing them all for herself.
Uh-huh.
I mean, out of everyone in the party, I think I've gotten the best rolls, but they still haven't been great.
You've gotten some pretty crazy like good rolls.
Yeah.
Joe has gotten the most consistent good rolls, I think.
And I've gotten the most consistent bad rolls.
For today.
I don't know. Marguerite has some really bad rolls.
That's true, actually.
I think
That's
you're about
true.
even.
But Emily was gone a few times, so I don't
She's
know. How
gone
that
once, but yeah,
I thought it was twice.
just once.
Oh, you know what? You know what I'm probably thinking about? The fact that I have an Emily in my improv class who's been gone twice.
So Vivian, he looks at you, and he says, "I would, yes, of course. That's what this is all about. I'm so sorry. Of course, it would be awkward and embarrassing and just difficult to be married without. Of course, please accept my sincerest apologies. I would love to learn." Keep in mind, everybody, though.
Supposed to make this guy a jerk.
No, keep in mind, though, he is still, remember? Because we all know that, or at the very least, we all know he impregnated.
Oh.
Forgetting.
Exactly. He impregnated Marguerite. So that's a thing.
I mean, that might have just been a drunken mistake.
It's
you know,
true.
it could happen to
Who knows?
anybody.
We just know he does have a sordid past in one sort or another. So
Yeah, but Vivian doesn't know that.
exactly, but she might eventually. So yeah. So yeah, what do you say, Vivian?
I don't know. I mean, I think for now, she just kind of like smiles and like shyly nods, like doesn't really say much because like I don't know what she would say to that. She's like trying to think of ways to like weasel herself out of that conversation, but
yeah,
she can't think of anything.
I'll make sure you mark off the fate and persona you've spent in the actual like your totals.
Yeah. I marked off fate. How much persona did I spend?
1.
1? Okay.
Yeah, so it should be at 1 now instead of 2.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so there you go.
So according to this, though, one of my traits is if someone asks me about sign language, I will begin to teach them.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
seeing Vivian's like awkward expression, I'm like, great, let's start now.
Yeah, seriously. Let's make a roll, right? Like let's make the rolls right now, right? For Vivian and for Kleber, right? Because this is going to be a thing that is happening now. You're going to teach both of them
Okay.
the language. So yeah, let's figure out the obstacles and stuff for this. Let's look up instruction.
That would be instruction, and since I am driven, that's a call-on trait. So what does that mean again?
It means if you fail the roll, you can reroll all failed dice because you're driven to teach.
Right.
Yeah.
So driven.
So driven. Let's find this instruction. So what test do you want to give them. These are 2 separate tests that you have to make here. Who do you want to start with first?
Oh, because I have to make one for her and one for him?
Yep, because they'll have different modifiers and stuff based on their
Start with
abilities.
him.
Okay. Let's see. So he just needs routines because he needs to like open the skill.
I don't need
right?
routines.
No, well, as in like routines, because you have to choose whether or not you're giving someone a routine test, a difficult test, or a challenging test in terms of like advancing. Whether or not it's actually a routine test from you is
I see.
to remain to be seen for instruction. But let me add this to his being learned, and we'll figure out. So ancient languages. He has 5 perception, so he'll need 5 tests to unlock the skill at a 2, which would be cool. So you need to give him a routine. So the base op is 1 for that.
Oh.
And then it's what type of skill is ancient languages?
Ancient languages is a
academic skill. So there's no increased penalty. So it's literally just a 1. All 1.
Easy.
Yeah.
I don't need any
Don't
modifiers
say
for
that.
this. Well, but it's really easy because even if I fail something, I can still re-roll it.
I'm
I'm
just
driven.
saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I'm not going to fork in anything because I want to save the forking for when I teach Vivienne because that's going to be more difficult.
Sure.
Can you not do it both for both?
No, because once you fork in it for once, isn't that it?
No, it's just related to whether or not you failed on the tests and then moving forward. So say you had an intimidation test and you used like persuasion to fork that in, and then you wanted to like try to persuade him after you failed the intimidation. You couldn't use persuasion because you've already forked it into a failed test.
Oh, I
Doesn't
see.
really apply in this circumstance. You're good.
So then I can fork
If you want to, yeah.
I want to. Because I mean, either way, it's going to be routine for me. It doesn't really matter, but
What's your instruction skill?
a 5.
I mean, yeah, you probably don't even need to
No,
fork in anything. But
I think it's fine. And even if I fail dice, let's say I fail all 5,
yeah,
I'll just re-roll them all again.
exactly. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go for it. Yeah.
Yep, there
Okay,
you go.
we're good.
Nice.
Okay, so the instruction time for this is days equal to 10 minus the instructor's will. What's your will? Is it a 3?
3.
Yeah. Okay. So this will take 12 days of training before he'll get this bubble. Okay. Now Vivienne. Let's see. What tests does she need for ancient languages? Oh, I guess we didn't mark. What tests were you giving her before?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Because
Haven't,
we didn't mark
actually
it down
logistically done
exactly.
any, studying.
Let me look this up real quick. Because it's in the chat log here. Instruction. Okay. I need to go back. You had a base ob 2, so that means you gave her a difficult test. So the time is run out on learning that. So go ahead and just mark a difficult test for your ancient languages, Vivienne. You're right. The instruction time is passed on that. And then so she still needs 1 more difficult and 4 routines. So which one do you want to give her, Joe? Another difficult?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. So let's see. So
it's just
for
a 2.
me, that's a base op 2.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I might as well fork, right? I mean, no harm in
Sure.
that. So can I fork in ancient language?
Mhm.
Foreign language?
I don't know. Did we do that last time? I don't
remember. That was like first session. So
Yeah. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
symbology?
Yeah.
And
It's like diagrams and stuff.
yeah, I think That would be it, because I don't.
You know what?
need a
I think you
fork in.
can fork in foreign languages because the texts you're probably like teaching her from are probably in like another foreign language, like the actual like written text.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Base up 2.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So just go ahead and I guess it will still be 12 days before you mark this. Just make a note somewhere, Carly, that you have. Let's see, what's your will? 4, so it's 11 days. No, wait, sorry, 13 days until you gain this test. So just mark
What
that
test is
somewhere.
that?
A difficult test for ancient languages. You'll get that in 13 days.
And then for instruction, that was just another routine.
Yeah,
for me,
both
which I
routines for you.
don't need.
Yep. Turns out ancient languages is actually an easy skill to teach people, like compared to some others.
I mean, I guess I didn't need to fork in anything, but that still wouldn't have made
It still
it.
wouldn't have made it. Yeah,
made
you
it
have too high of instruction at this point. What you really honestly need to do is like find other things to teach people besides the ancient languages if you want to like actually
Right.
increase the ability. But yeah.
I'm just such a good teacher.
Yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, pretty much. Well, cool. Let's take our second break there and come back and continue on. We'll be back with more Lavender Shadows right after this. I'm slowly making Carly in a love triangle that she cannot escape from. It's very fun.